this is the school we have selected. What are the nearby areas where we can actually build a home for the next 4 to 5 years?
Rent somewhere for the first 6 months to 1 year, figure out your bearings, and then move forward. I think that's another really good piece of advice you would give me then.
So that guidance is either provided by a friend or a family member, which majority of the times is right, but is limited.
As a parent and as a working parent, I think that's a valuable piece of advice. It's not just, you're not just putting your child in school, right? It's the whole ball game. You're going to buy a place or rent a place.
Choices are dictated by those set of information that I receive from them, and that set of information actually tells me that this is a more suitable neighbor. I can only advise them and I can only guide them.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of The Breakfast. So after a completely different topic last week, we have now gone back to the real estate scenario. However, this time it's real estate with a bit of twist. So the topic for today is going to be, how do you choose the right neighborhood for yourself and for your family? Joining me on this podcast is going to be Karishma Bhansali Mehta. Karishma, thank you for being here. Now, I know we have done a podcast before, but I would still like you to introduce yourself to the client and to the people who are going to be listening to this podcast, so they are aware of your portfolio and the profile that you have.
Thank you so much for having me, Asim. As you said, I'm Karishma Bhansali Mehta. I am the Program Director of the SIG Learning Series for the Scholars International Group of Schools here across Dubai and Sharjah. The Scholars International Group has been around since 1976. Pioneers in education and visionaries in the educational landscape. We curate and moderate really interesting talks like this one, for example, when we did our podcast, and open to the wider community in the aim of spreading the concept of the lifelong learning, which is so important for all of us as we approach this new 21st century that we're facing.
So Karishma, when you moved to Dubai 11 years ago, what are the basic set of problems that you faced with respect to finding a suitable school for your kids and finding the suitable accommodation which is in close proximity to the school and have no choke points? So how did you go about this process?
So Asim, I moved to Dubai 11 years ago. It's a very different Dubai today. But even 11 years ago, finding the right place to live and finding the right schools were the most daunting choices. I think even once we'd found the school, trying to figure out where to live was the most daunting choice, because already, I came from a very small city in Europe. So it was all of a sudden this huge buzzing capital. And, how do you find a place? I think the best advice I received was, when you have young children, try to find a place that's close to your school. And I think that was a game changer. We were very lucky. I think we did things the right way. We found someone to help us navigate, good neighborhoods. At that time, we were living in Jumeirah 1, which till today is one of my favorite neighborhoods. It's so accessible. You can walk around.
Except for a bit of traffic density now.
I think now there is a lot of traffic there. I agree, exactly. I don't live there anymore. And finding the right school was basically, that's really a function of how, what you believe in as a family, right? And the kind of system the kids have come from. So what system translates best into the system that they're going to, all of that. And so it was challenging. But I will say, I think the fact that when my children were young, that I could get to them, in record time was the best thing. Because if your children are sick, you need to pick them up from school. For example, if there's something happening after school and, you forgot about it, or they call you and they say, Mom, I have to do something.
And a change of clothes. And
anything.
They
forget lunch, water bottles,
like the water bottles.
Stuff that we did when we were kids as well.
So, that happens.
Exactly. So I think those things, so I really do believe, and this is something I tell anyone that's coming into Dubai as well, if you can, don't live too far away from the school.
So when you say too far, let's narrow it down. Let's talk about in terms of time, because in Dubai, I don't think we should talk about distance.
Yes.
Because distance at times, like for example in Marina, At times, the distance is 5 kilometers or 3 kilometers, but it takes you half an hour to cover
Yeah.
that. So, ideally speaking, if everything else is not a deciding factor, how would you say around 15 minutes should be the proximity of?
I think given the way Dubai is right now, of course, in the ideal world, 15 minutes is great.
15 minutes for a parent means 2 hours in a day.
Well, yeah, it does. And I mean, 15 minutes is great. I would say 20, 25 minutes is also doable. And,
But
luckily
nothing crossing 30 minutes, right?
ideally, no. For me, personally, I wouldn't do that.
Sure, exactly. So that's what we will take from this conversation is that between 15, which is ideal, to 30, which is the max, that's the amount of time for one-sided commute
Yes.
for the parent. Because, for
Yes.
example, if you're a parent, you'll say half an hour, so you'll have to go half an hour to drop that kid and half an hour for you to reach back home.
Or to go
and
to
then
work or wherever.
in the afternoon, again, it's
Yeah.
half an hour and half an hour. So 2 hours are
Yeah,
gone.
and it's
if
the
they
same
have
with
the
school bus commutes as well, right?
Exactly.
It's the same.
school bus commutes are on another level, I think,
Yeah.
because school bus
You have to take that
buses
into
have,
consideration as well.
they have their own routes and they go by their route. So if your kid is even living just 5 kilometer away, but the bus route is something that it goes all around, so that time is
Exactly. So all of these things I think are so important to factor in,
If you had to do this all over again, for example, now with the knowledge base and the experience that you have, and if you had to apply this knowledge base to a Karishma which is going back in time 11 years, what would you do differently?
What would I do differently? I actually don't think I would do anything differently because I think I listened to really good advice then, in terms of the fact that I chose something that was accessible to my school.
And do you think that advice should be now received on a professional level by people who are coming to you?
As a parent, and as a working parent, I think that's, for me, I think that that's a valuable piece of advice. And, it's not just, you're not just putting your child in school, right? It's the whole ball game. You're going to buy a place or rent a place. So from the real estate perspective, that's something that I'm sure you would encourage or agree with because,
I
property.
ask my clients,
Exactly.
what are your preferences? How many kids do you have? Where are they going to school? And would you like to be closer to their school?
Right.
So then the choices are dictated by those set of information that I receive from them. And that set of information actually tells me that this is a more suitable neighbor. I can only advise them and I can only guide them. But do you think the schools, like your schools, they provide this kind of information to the parents?
Yes, we're always advising our parents on where, the existing communities are already staying, where parents are already staying, in the hope of trying to build a nice, community or at least where people know each other. So it's just easier for them to integrate into this busy Dubai life. It's always important as institutions to let families coming in, know what are the good places around.
I think
where
I have a suggestion in this regard. I think there should be regular seminars in these schools as well that, okay, the new session is going to start. We have received these many applications, and based on those applications, we invite those parents to sit with us, and maybe we can provide some insight on the areas we're going to live to choose from. Because at one point in time, people just take, okay, I have just arrived in Dubai. This was the most convenient location. So we have secured a house for the next 3 months or 2 months. So we have selected a hotel, and we would like somebody to guide us. This is the school we have selected. What are the nearby areas where we can actually build a home for the next 4 to 5 years? I think that suggestion should be taken into consideration, and we should form some sort of a body where we have regular seminars on this basis.
I think that's a really good idea. So we'll definitely take that into consideration. And, something just came back to me from the conversation we'd had when you said to me, when a new family especially comes in, someone that doesn't really have too many ties in Dubai, right?
Yeah.
it's also advisable, definitely. And I think most people do that, rent somewhere for the first 6 months to 1 year, figure out your bearings, and then move forward. I think that's another really good piece of advice you had given me then as well.
Yes, because that's what you need to do, because everybody comes and says, okay, I'm going to live in this, for example, live in this area because right now I've moved in here. I am going to be living next to my workplace, but my family is going to move
Yes.
in 3 to 6 months because the kids are undergoing school and I would like to complete their school year and then have them move. So that guidance is either provided by a friend or a family member, which majority of the times is right, but is limited because Dubai is expanding with such dynamic force that your information, whatever as an individual, if you're not related to that industry, is outdated within 3 to 6 months.
100%. I agree. Yes. Yes. Thank you. So, based on what I've told you, if you could just give me 5 great properties, a range of properties, let's explore some in the Dubai area. What would your favorites be?
So, for example, if you're talking about Al Quoz area, I would say Al Barsha. I will even say Jumeirah because you cross a bridge,
Right.
exit 39, you cross a bridge and you are there. So, Al Barsha area is very good. You have Arabian Ranches, that's again have accessibility.
Yeah, it's
you have
ideal.
Dubai Hill State. From Dubai Hill State, you can straight away cross a bridge and be in Al Quoz area. So all those places have great accessibility to this place. Now, for Dubai Sharjah border, then you have Sheikh Zayed Road, which is the nearest place from where you can access that. Then on Dubai, from Dubai Alan Road, you can always access that area for Sharjah border. So Dubai Alan area, you have, if you take on that road, you have Nadal Shiba, you have Shoba Heartland. So Shoba Heartland is a developed community. From that place, you can access that.
Amazing. So, it's all about community and proximity. A good community, a safe community, and proximity.
And I would also say, go to a community which has some features in the evening for the kids to have a place where they can go out
Yes.
and play. Like Sheikh Zayed Road, for example, is a thriving place. But Sheikh Zayed Road is more of a sort of commercial area. So the kids cannot go out and they don't have parks right like this moment you step out of your home, you do not find a park here.
Right.
You have to actually drive to a park,
Yes.
which is Al Safa Park is nearby. So it's not the end of the world, but it's not, I would say, for growing kids, which would have access to swimming pools and have parks nearby. It's not the best location. The best location, I again will say, will be, for example, Shoba Heartland. It has green patches, it has green areas, it has walking tracks, cycling tracks, jogging tracks. You have playgrounds for kids and activity areas for the adults as well. So you can actually take your kids, they will play. You can have your own pedal tennis or other activities, and you can do cycling or other activities. So that is a win-win situation, and that is an ideal area where you can have all these activities undertaken. Arabian Ranches, very well established. Arabian Ranches has all these activities, all these well-planned sub-communities where you can actually go to the park and take your kids and have a stroll around that area when
It's
the weather
true.
is
Yes. When the weather is
nicer.
amenable. Yes.
So, moving on, tell me something very interesting. This is a question that I always have on my mind. How do you guide a parent if somebody comes to you, I love your school, I love this place that you have developed the school in, I'm going to certainly have my kids here. How do I commute? Where do I live? Have people asked you this question?
So, Asim, my personal favorite place in Dubai has been Jumeirah 1 because that's the place that I moved to right in the beginning, 11 years ago. And I loved it because it's so neighborhoody, it's so accessible. And I just thought it was very safe and, very charming to raise my kids, especially because I'd just come in from Europe. I actually do have a lot of these questions.
How did you find that place?
Exactly, because I was told to find a place near my children's school. That was the best advice I was given. And today, that is the best advice I give friends who are coming in, people who come in, because really, when you're moving to a new place, and especially the Dubai 11 years ago is so different to the Dubai today. And I'm sure that the Dubai you saw way back when is so different to the Dubai today. And it can be so overwhelming. So, and especially when you have little kids, it's always so nice to be able to be, you know, maximum 10-15 minute drive away. So in case something happens, you can quickly pick them up. If they get sick, if something happens, you can just go, you can pick them up from school, you can bring them home. You know, if there's an extracurricular activity, you know, if something has come up, that kind of convenience, especially when you have young children, is great.
But how did you go about in finding that, yes, this is the school where my kids are going to go? How did you come to know about Jumeirah One? Who guided you in this? So this because if this guidance is provided wrong, then for all the 4, 5 years or 6 years that you're going to stay there and your kids are going to go to the school, that will be a bad decision.
Right.
How do you factor in without having a professional to guide you?
Well, I did have we were very lucky because I did do it the right way. I did have a professional to guide me. And I would definitely say it is important, if you don't know the market, and this market is constantly changing and evolving, it is very important to go to a professional and have someone guide you. Of course, your friends give you recommendations, they'll tell you what's nearby, what's there, and then it's up to you to find, the right fit. So I think, it was lucky. I was very lucky to have someone
Jumeirah One is one of the most sought after places, I understand, and it's still, that community is still to date is very sought after. However,
but I think traffic isn't, depending on where your school is, traffic is an issue. So I think as a parent, I will always say, there's two things: quality of the school and convenience, especially when they're little. Now my kids are older, so, the commute doesn't matter as much, even though it does, because as you said, time is our most important commodity. And we've got to save on time. And this is such a busy place.
Because at the end of the day, if the kid spends 1 hour or 2 hours in traffic, that's exhausting, and that adversely affects their learning ability.
And it affects family life. It affects everything. It affects everything. So, if you, as much as possible, given that we do live in a very big city now, as much as possible, I feel that it is important to find something that, where you reduce these unknowns.
Do you think, like in US, school district is very important and a lot of emphasis is given, and the prices also vary of the property, of the real estate? They vary because the schools are so nice or the schools are not so nice. Do you think the same trend you have seen here, or the trend is still not there?
I think that's something you would be better placed to tell me. How do you see that happening?
I think for nicer schools, the property prices go up by 6 to 8%. That's what I've observed, and I've seen that if the schools are very well reputed, and if you are endeavoring to take your kid or your child to that particular school, then the property prices and the rent, the prices go up by 6 to 8%. The rentals actually go up by 12 to 15% in that particular neighborhood.
Oh, that's excellent. So it does make sense to buy close to your school or in a good neighborhood, because
even if
your kid is going to a good school and the property you've invested in is also
even
going
if
to
later
appreciate.
On you want to sell, there are next generation of parents that would like to buy
Yes.
that from you, even if you want to lease your unit or
Yes.
your property or your home to a next tenant. That person would take these factors into account, and I think now we are taking much more well-educated decisions in this respect. I have seen people coming to me, and they're very perturbed about the commute that they're going to have, especially even if the father says, okay, I don't mind traveling 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes or even 40 minutes, but I want, because that's going to be once in the morning and once in the
Yes.
evening. But for my kids, it's going to be at least
It's a shuffle.
4 to 5 trips in a day, where they have the swimming classes, somebody has music classes, somebody has games classes in the evening. within the school premises, and the school network that you are talking about, which you represent, is one very solid institutional that actually provides all these activities to people, right?
Yes.
So imagine that 4 or 5 times going back and forth to the same place. You have to have a very, very clear picture in your mind. Where am I going to live? What is the traffic density in that area? What are going to be the traffic density choke points? What are the road infrastructure there? How that is going to be improved, and what that would entail in my day-to-day, how that is going to affect in my day-to-day routine. Thank you very much, Karishma, for that insightful discussion. We have covered in this episode the importance of having a school near to place that you live in, because that decision is going to affect you daily for the next at least 4 to 5 years. So having a very conscious decision, a very precise place to live and for your kid to go is of immense importance. So Karishma, if an interested parent comes to you, where can they find your social, or where can they find you and get more information on this?
Thank you, Asim. For more information on our SIG schools, please go to sigeducation.com. This will take you to all our separate entities and interesting affiliations. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.